What's happening, everybody? Thank you for tuning in today. All right. So, in the midst of July here, when we thought the market was a little quiet, the Canadians make some news here, and we have a signing to talk about. So, we've got a left shot centerman now signed. Joe Veleno is a Montreal Canadian. Montreal native Joe Veleno is a member of the Montreal Canadiens, and it looks like he didn't waste any time getting over to the Bell Center because here he is in the locker room taking a little selfie in front of that glorious logo. Look at this. Look at this. Looks like Max Pacioretty a little bit. Come on. I mean, that's a junior Max lookalike or something. But yeah, the Canadians sign a much needed depth piece, left shot centerman. No, it's not the second line centerman that we're all hoping will come at some point. I'm not going to mention the player I'm thinking of right now that I hope they acquire someday. Anyway, you guys know who it is probably. Let's talk about Joe. Let's talk about Joe here. Okay. So, the biggest thing that jumps out at me about this signing with Joe Veleno, and let's actually go to Marco D'Amico, because he's breaking so much Habs news lately and giving credit all over the place because he's just a good soldier like that. But let's talk about if I can get my stuff together here. All right, here we are. So this is a depth piece for the bottom six that plays with pace in Joe Veleno. He earns less than $1 million. That's a $900,000 cap hit, which means he could be put on waivers in any case. No risk move for the Canadians, and they add a left shot center to the fold, because as we know, we've all been kind of talking about how Alex Newhook is the only left shot centerman currently on the roster who still may not really be a full-time centerman this year. It's Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook that are the big question marks at center. And what are they going to do in the faceoff dot? Because frankly, the numbers aren't in the favor of Alex Newhook or Kirby Dach, historically speaking, when it comes to faceoff percentage. However, with Joe Veleno, the percentages are a little bit better. And by a little bit, I'm being a bit modest, because they're actually pretty good. And I'm going to pull them up for you guys here. So Joe Veleno's career NHL numbers at center are right here. So his current number is sitting at, in his NHL career in the faceoff dot, 46.5%, as I kind of go highlight this here for you guys. 46.5. That's almost 50%. And that is in and around the number that Christian Dvorak, I believe, was over around the 52% mark before he left the Canadiens. But this is something that the Canadiens absolutely needed, was to figure out who can take more faceoffs, and they're going to have probably a bit of a revolving door of the third line and second line center this year, unless they add that big second line center, which may be difficult to do before the season starts, but they're still going to work the phones. This was a piece that they absolutely needed. And I actually have a text here that just came in. Joe Veleno played for Team Canada in the World Juniors, winning gold in 2020 with my friend Akil Thomas of the LA Kings. And I just got a text back from Akil asking him about Joe, and this is what he had to say. He said, "That's awesome for him, for Joe. I'm happy for him. I honestly haven't talked to him for a little while, but he's a really, really good guy. He's funny. He has a sense of humor. And that's pretty much the main stuff off the top of his head. But he's obviously a really mature kid," Akil says about Joe, going exceptional status before his draft year, and has a really good head on his shoulders. So at 25 years old, 6'1", 201 pounds, Joe Veleno is going to fit in very well to this Montreal Canadiens locker room and hopefully in the lineup. And Akil just kind of confirming it here that he's going to be a good fit in this locker room with the character. They're looking for character all the time whenever they acquire players, right? So this speaks well to his character. Akil, having played with him on the World Junior 2020 Team Canada team, the gold medal winning team, where Akil got the golden goal, by the way. That was such a big story here in Niagara. We're so proud of him still. But anyway, the NHL numbers for Joe Veleno aren't the greatest. He had quite the career in junior in the QMJHL, but regardless, this is a guy that can play with some pace, like Marco D'Amico mentioned as well. And there have been, well, I tried to gather some opinions, but this is a guy that's going to play a fairly tough checking game. I'm from what I'm getting here, and he could fit in very well with Josh Anderson and Brendan Gallagher on that third line for the Canadiens. So if Jake Evans stays on that fourth line center spot where he has been for pretty much ever since he's been with the Canadiens, except when he's had to bump up the lineup because of injuries. Joe Veleno could slot in very nicely on that third line with the guys I just mentioned, replacing Christian Dvorak. Let's just see how it plays out. I mean, it's a low risk move, like I said, for the Canadiens. They're not expecting the world. If it doesn't work out with Joe, he can go on waivers. But it's a one-way deal, which Marco D'Amico also mentioned, that it's a little bit more difficult to lose Joe Veleno on waivers because if a team picks him up on waivers, it's a one-way deal, and they would have to take on that full $900,000 cap hit. So if they put him on waivers to send him to Laval, as an example, if he's not having a great start to the season, if he makes the team out of camp, as an example, it's going to be harder to lose him. So that's good because they could really still use this depth piece. And I think it's a great pickup for the Canadiens for the price. It's a good move on Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton's behalf. And we heard last week, Tony Marinaro was saying that a formal contract offer hadn't been given to Joe Veleno, and now it has, and it's been signed. So he's here. He's a Montreal native. It's a good story, and I think he could add something that we need. That faceoff dot is such. This is adding more peace of mind to the faceoff circle for the Canadiens going into this season. So let's just talk about Joe Veleno's career numbers for a moment. They're not the sexiest numbers in the NHL, and that's where, hopefully we can see a bit more upside from him. One thing that's really important, I think, to mention about Joe Veleno as well, he has not played a career NHL playoff game as of yet. The last time he played in the playoffs was in 2019 with Drummondville, and he played in 16 playoff games, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points in those 16 playoff games. So he hasn't played an NHL playoff game to date, and what better place to potentially play his first career NHL playoff hockey than in Montreal. If you saw the playoffs this year, just getting a little taste of what it could be like, Joe is going to be absolutely motivated to get that opportunity this year to play his first taste of NHL playoff hockey in Montreal, which we're all hoping happens. So that's most of what I have for you guys. And I didn't get a chance to go over his NHL numbers, so let's just really quickly go over it. It's still something that people are talking about, maybe why some people aren't as excited about Joe Veleno, because, again, he's a bottom 6 guy. He's going to fill a much-needed role at center, especially in the faceoff dot. But let's talk about it just for a second here, okay? So in 306 career NHL games played for Joe Veleno, 38 goals, 43 assists, 81 points in those 306 games, 98 penalty minutes. Plus minus, he's been in the minus pretty much the last several seasons with a rebuilding Detroit Red Wings team, a team that drafted him 30th overall in the first round. It's another first rounder that Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton has acquired, if you can't believe it, in the 2018 NHL entry draft. So this guy has untapped potential for sure. I mean, I think the book on him before the draft was that he had a lot more offensive upside, but he's a two-way guy. We know he's a two-way guy. I read that here on Elite Prospects, and there's still more to be desired from Joe, and that's why he was available on the market and hadn't been signed yet, because maybe teams aren't expecting a whole lot. But it just seems like a great fit for the Canadiens with everything I just mentioned to you guys, the information I had. He's a Montreal native. It could really be a nice deal here for the Canadiens and their fans. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below on this deal for Veleno. And hope I'm saying it right, because I get players' names wrong the first time, almost every time. It's like a tradition on this channel. So hit like, hit subscribe, you guys. I really like the signing. It's needed, and I think that it could work out better than expected if all goes well. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you soon. Cheers.